I mean, World of Warcraft is not a very accessible game. You know what I mean? Here's
I feel like this gets said actually about, I think honestly, like, I feel like half the MMOs this is true about. I'm not trying to like say that no MMOs have done it successfully. So like, that's not what I'm trying to say. But I feel like this take is something that I've heard about Final Fantasy. I've heard about RuneScape. I've heard about, I feel like almost every MMO, but that I've played anyway. But yeah, they when you have like action bars and you have a leveling process where you unlock more abilities and you have a sprawling world with tons of different quest lines and I don't know, I think that that's naturally going to be pretty overwhelming. It's like, and I think that's part of why MMOs are so like popular with some people, or why people stick with them for so long, is because frankly, like, you kind of are opening up a new world.
the biggest problem with World of Warcraft. Okay.
It's normal to get lost in a new world.
Okay. Like, kids these days are like mega zoomers. Even I find myself, I'm like this. I just want, like, this.
MMOs
is the
aren't visually
TikTok age,
enticing.
you know?
I agree.
We want our instant
Like,
gratification. We don't have to like want to do anything. Like,
I don't watch
let
MMOs.
me give you a for
I
instance.
don't like
Okay?
watch people
Like,
play them.
let's do a little thought experiment. Okay. Little thought experiment, chat.
Starting experience to be BFA
Okay.
doesn't make sense for new players. Yeah, they
Imagine
said it's going to be Dragonflight
you're
going
a
forward
kid.
though.
And you're looking for a new video game to play, and you're browsing YouTube.
It's so, I'm sorry to like pause Venruki again, but it's actually so hilarious though that they are opting to recommend Battle for Azeroth as the leveling expansion over Shadowlands, which is the most recent expansion besides Dragonflight, obviously, so that wouldn't be the leveling one. So I just think that's fucking hilarious that they would actually recommend Battle for Azeroth over Shadowlands. Like, I think that just says a lot about how they feel about Shadowlands. People can be really fucking mean on WoW. People can be really fucking mean in Final Fantasy as well.
And you see two games. The first game you see is World of Warcraft 3v3 Arena. Okay? And you're watching Peekaboo, and he's on his sub-rogue, and oh my god, he's looking fly. Peekaboo is making plays. He's cheap-shotting this guy. He's gouging this guy. He's blind-sapping that guy. He's one-shotting that guy. He's a hero. He's a legend. He's the two-time. Gets the dub. And you're thinking, wow, I want to be like Peekaboo when I grow up. So you...
That's when you need to stop, wait a minute, and realize that you're not gonna be. And be content with that. But always strive to get better.
look and...
But understand that you're not gonna be as good as Peekaboo. If you were, you'd probably be streaming and doing the same thing.
You want to try World of Warcraft. You're like, I want to play 3v3 Arena. That sounds awesome. I want to play
But this is the start, so that's not how it works.
Rogue. So you buy World of Warcraft. You download World of Warcraft. You make your character. And then you're like, wait, what? Can I just play Arena? No. You have to level. Okay, well, I guess I'll level. And then you level up. Okay, you level up your rogue so you could be like Peekaboo. Okay, can I play now? No, you can't play now. Now you have to grind honor gear. And on top of grinding honor gear, you also need to start working on your crafted
Kind of a parasocial approach too, a little bit.
gear, because you want to have the right embellishments. Well, what are embellishments? Well, embellishments are these little additions that you can add to your gear that make you a lot more powerful. And if you don't have them, you're probably screwed. Okay, well, I guess I'll do that too. So what do I need to do? Like my campaign? Yeah, get on the campaign, do it up. All right. Now that you've got your honor gear, you need to start queuing, and you need to work on your conquest gear. Don't worry. You are way behind on gear, and you're at a big disadvantage, but that's really no problem. Oh, wait, you're actually really screwed because you don't have any add-ons. Okay, so what you really need to do is you need to go download a program called CurseForge, okay? Now download CurseForge, and you can get these different add-ons, okay? So you're going to need S Arena so you can track all your diminishing returns. You're going to need to set up Tell Me When so you can see like when your abilities and procs are up to do optimal damage. You know, you're going to need to set up Omni CD so you can see your...
I'm just going to say this is slightly exaggerated because it is coming from the perspective of like a 3K rated fucking gladiator level player, okay? This is like hearing a 1% raider talk about this shit. Remember that their perspective is completely fucked. They do help. These add-ons help. I'm not saying they don't. But do you need them? No, you do not. Okay? Especially if you're a new player. The mentality that you do I think is part of the issue. It's like so I'm not trying to like poop on any of my friends or anything. I've, my own little friend group, okay? We got a friend. Okay, so I've obviously been playing WoW for a while. And two of my real life friends have been playing WoW for a very long time, longer than I have. And we have a friend, a fourth friend, who recently wanted to get into World of Warcraft. And he makes his character, he's doing all this stuff, customizing and stuff. And the first thing that my friend tells him to do is to get Questy. Download this add-on. First thing, get this add-on. And I'm like, no. Why? No. Why would you tell him to do that? Don't do that. Fucking go pick up a quest and just play the game. Like, what kind of starting experience is that? Like, if you're going to have the attitude that the solution to all things is to just have an add-on to do it for you, you're choosing that gameplay. I mean, you're choosing that gameplay. Those add-ons are going to help you, especially like Venruki saying in PvP, it's going to help you, especially at higher levels. When you're like 2K rated, 2.5K, you're like an actually good player. But you don't need to have all these add-ons because you're going to need, like, fundamentally, those add-ons probably aren't even going to help you very much until you're at least like a fucking mid-tier rated player anyway, Should they remove add-ons? No, I don't think they should remove add-ons. I just think that you can't really complain about the add-on stuff when your mentality to solve every problem is to just get an add-on. I mean, that's kind of your fault, in my opinion. That's just the way I see it.
Teammates' abilities, you need to set up Omnibar so you can track the enemy abilities, and then on top of that, you're gonna need to get details. So whenever you get one shot, you can try to figure out what killed you immediately.
Not sure what to do.
Okay, now let me know when you get all of that.
True, but when things get competitive, you need the edge. I know, and I get it, and he's giving an example, and he's exaggerating for the sake of the argument. I'm not saying that Ven's wrong. I'm just saying, like, when the mentality, when the viewpoint is positioned this way, like, I mean, yeah, if that's the way that you see the game being played at the most optimal level that you're playing at, then yeah, you might see it as overwhelming for a new player. But I don't think new players are. I don't know, bro. I don't know if new players are thinking about it like that. Like, I sure didn't. I didn't have add-ons for the first like fucking year and a half that I played World of Warcraft. I didn't even know they were a thing. Because I was like a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid. Like, I was just playing the game. So, like, there's, now
your gear still sucks, so you're going to have to grind that out for a little bit to be on. And
I was just walking around.
And I know you're just getting one shot all over the place, but...
Titan bar, that's fine.
And that's why you need to download Mez's Weak Aura package, because even though you're not exactly sure what's going to kill you, when enough horns and whistles go off, you'll be able to figure it out. Okay, and then it's like, what the fuck? Alt F4. Okay, like that's why new people are a little intimidated when it comes to World of Warcraft PvP. Now, imagine that same.
Then just arguing that the add-ons being necessary from the game's complexity, not the culture of players. Yeah, I think from a functional level that is true, but I think the weight that gets put behind the use of add-ons, as far as how required they are, I think is exaggerated. There are people that are better at people. There are people that are better without add-ons. Obviously, if we're talking like world first racing, you can't use 1%ers and 0.1%ers as your example. I can't do it. You can't do it. It's not fair because the perspective of those players is completely different. That's the way I see it. The way that they look at the game is like hyper optimized, so that if they are missing any one of these checklists of things, they're at a disadvantage, which is true. It is true. But whether or not that has to be the mindset for a new player or not, I think is what's in question. Definitely hyperbole. Blizzard Arena attorneys used to be 0 add-ons. Do they do add-ons now? You saying playing your class good and reading mechanics is worth more than add-ons? I think so. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying, in a sense that, like, yeah, the core gameplay mechanics that you learn by playing the game, I think are going to be more useful to you than an add-on. That's what I see, I guess. I think if you can learn to like look at mechanics, that you can learn to solve mechanics better, and that you don't necessarily need to have an add-on to tell you how to do those mechanics. Now, if you're doing mythic rating and you're trying to be US first or something, yeah, you need those because everyone else is going to use them. But if you're not, then You don't have to choose to play sweaty if you're not a sweaty player. Does that make sense? You get to choose how sweaty you play the game. It's completely up to you, I think. I don't know.
He's into like a Counter-Strike tournament and he's watching Fraud. Fraud probably hasn't played in a million years.
I'm not against add-ons, for the record. I'm not against using add-ons, guys.
From 2000.
I used to use LVUI. It's all I used. And I used to have shitloads of weak auras and all sorts of stuff. So I'm not against it. I'm not. I just think it's bad for the new player experience to automatically recommend that they get add-ons. That's all.
2008 op people. And he's like, oh my God, Fraud's so good at opping. I want to op. And then he downloads the game and starts playing. And that's it. The end. You know, like, it's a pretty jarring comparison. And I feel like it's the biggest obstacle.
Like, I know that this is simple, but I think playing Final Fantasy XIV made me better at solving problems. Like, seriously. I was doing a dungeon, and I know it's Wrath Classic, okay? This isn't like a fucking high level of play. And I'm like doing this dungeon, and this boss has this attack that knocks you back. And while you're knocked back, you're in the air and you can't cast anything. And I'm like, and I get hit by the knockback, and I'm like, that's fucking annoying. And I see everyone else get knocked back too, and I'm like, this is dumb. I'm gonna go stand by this wall. And so I stand by the wall. And then guess what? When the boss did the knockback, I was able to cast like 3 times faster than anyone else in the room because I looked at the mechanic and said, oh, okay. I think I know a way to shorten this. And I fucking did it. So it's like, it's actually using your brain to figure it out rather than just looking at an add-on, which, by the way, none of the add-ons tell you to do that. None of them. Not a single boss mod for those dungeons tells you to position against the wall. You know why? Because players don't think like that. Not in WoW. Not in my opinion. They don't think that way. So at least, I don't know, maybe they didn't. So it's just like, oh, the add-on will just tell me.
When it comes to World of Warcraft PvP, what's up, Zaryu?
And it doesn't.
The biggest obstacle when it comes to World of Warcraft is it's very difficult. An MMORPG, and listen, I have to give a lot of credit to the developers because for us who've been around for a long time,
the Butcher is another one.
Process against the walls. A lot better over time. You know what I mean? Like I do think there's a lot of positives to this expansion. I feel like they've done a really good job making it more convenient and better for us, but that doesn't change the fact that it is extremely complicated to play this game. If you
isn't Ven playing like mostly without add-ons right here? I'm so confused. Isn't Ven like a fucking 3K glad player? But he's playing with like no add-ons. Oh, when he gets in a PvP game, things change. Oh, he probably has like weak auras and stuff that only load when he's like in an arena and stuff. Yeah, duh. His arena frames and all this. Yeah. Okay.
For a new player in World of Warcraft, good luck is all I'm saying. Good frickin' luck, you know? So that's why I think a lot of people, as sad as it is to say, and I think it's important to at least admit this because then maybe in the future we can move forward and make it better for people to, you know, try World of Warcraft and play PvP because that would be ideal. But I think it's important to admit that it's a lot easier for people to just play other games. You just log on and play. That's it. Like you just play League, you just play Dota, you just play Counter-Strike, you just whatever you want.
Yeah, but like you said in the beginning, like I don't think that this none of those are an MMO. You know? Like none of those are the same structure of game. You don't have to level the characters. It's like fundamental. It's like, I get what he's saying, but it's like, you can't, I mean, can you have both? So like, what's the answer? Do they make a non-level based like template character PvP arena option? Like you just like, what do you do in WoW to make that a possibility? Because you can't take leveling away. You can't take gearing away. Like from the base game, right? It just kind of seems like, how do you get that? PvP realm with templated characters. That's what I'm thinking. I feel like that's the only way. And maybe like on those servers, maybe on those worlds, there's no add-ons or something. If they were just like, yo, ranked PvP worlds, boom. Here's template characters, no add-ons, fight. I don't know. Maybe. His view of things is very PvP centric. So few people would play on those. I mean, not based on what Ven says. He seems to think that if it was more accessible and you didn't have to do all the leveling and stuff, then more people would do it. That's what he's saying, isn't it?
Better for people to. I think a lot of people, as sad as it is to say, and I think it's important to at least admit this, because then maybe in the future we can move forward and make it better for people to, you know, try World of Warcraft and play PvP, because that would be ideal. But I think it's important to admit that it's a lot easier for people to just play other games. You just log on and play. That's it. Like
So he's talking about the barrier to entry that comes with playing an MMO. That's exactly what he's talking about. So I'm talking about removing that barrier to entry. So if Ven's argument has any weight, that's not what he's saying. He's saying the barrier to entry is having to learn everything involved with PvP. That doesn't exist in League. You guys think that like meta information and stuff like that doesn't exist in League, or like that you don't have to learn? I don't get it. Like that exists in other games too, right? Every game has barrier to entry in regards to learning the mechanics of PvP. So it sounds to me more like he's complaining about the barrier to entry to get to the point where you can actually queue arenas and stuff. You got to get the gear, you got to level, you got to do that, right?
just play League.
That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is guys, I'm just trying to like offer a potential solution for what he's saying here. And that's why I was talking about like template worlds with like ranked PvP and like no add-ons and stuff. Because I feel like that gets rid of like a lot of the issues that he's talking about. There's no leveling, there's no gearing process, there's no, you know, like you just open the game and you queue and play PvP. Isn't that exactly what he's talking about?
Play Dota. You just play Counter-Strike. You just whatever you want.
You know?
You know what I mean?
That's what I'm hearing.
The issue is the elitism. The elitism shouldn't even exist, though.
Oh, good luck with that. It's PvP, dog. I mean, come on. Come on now. It's PvP. There's going to be elitism in any PvP in any game. That's literally, that's what, I mean, it's, just, yeah.
Play Overwatch. I care about elitism? No. I just queue up and I can play. I download Overwatch and I play. There's no elitism. I just get ranked. There's enough people.
Well, yeah, but once you get to a certain rank, there's elitism. What? I'm confused.
Playing where I just queue, and if I suck, I get put into bronze.
He's saying there's no elitism in Overwatch? Overwatch is one of the most toxic fucking PvP shooters I've ever played. I'm confused, but I'm going to let him keep talking.
If I'm pretty good, then I get put into, you know, gold, and if I'm a little better than good, I get to be diamond, and you know what I mean? I'm just playing against people that are relatively skill level. There's no elitism gatekeeping it. The only reason there's elitism is because I feel like the community is relatively small, so it's hard to actually get into groups. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where I think solo shuffle, this is actually what I believe. I believe, and people are going to hate.
He's saying that there's no elitism to play not while playing. I think he's saying that even at low rating PvP, the elitism matters a lot, where in other games, not really. Okay.
I believe the future of WoW PvP is solo shuffle. And I think there is a lot of things that need to be done to make it as ideal as possible. But I'm telling you, a solo queue mode is the only reason that I feel like World of Warcraft gains popularity in PvP. And I think in Season 1 of Dragonflight, when people played solo shuffle, when it was new, it was exciting, it was fresh, there was lots of people queuing, the queue times weren't too long. People finally got to play the game. There's so many people that want to play PvP, but they just sit in LFG all day long. And then they play one game in LFG, and then they get kicked out of the group, and then they're back to LFG. So solo shuffle was actually like their godsend, where they could just play. Oh my God, I've got an hour. I'm going to log on. I'm going to play some solo shuffle. Great, I'm in this game. I get to play. It's fun. I'm gaining my rating.
And this is like assuming that you're like solo play, like what he's saying, solo playing. You're not like logging in. You have like 2 or 3 friends who you'd want to play with consistently. Like that's, I don't know, man. My most fun times playing PvP, that was always the situation, was getting on with, you know, Mumble or whatever the fuck, Ventrilo back in the day, with 2 of my friends and just like going in and queuing PvP, and that's how it was fun for me. But it depends on how you enjoy it, you know, like I enjoy PvP with my friends. I don't know that I enjoy just PvP. Does that make sense? So people are different. Some people just enjoy PvP. They just like doing it more. And, you know, that's, yeah, just is what it is.
My rewards, this is amazing. And then obviously
TeamSpeak
in Season 2 with like
Skype.
ratings being gate kept and stuff like that. I feel like it lost a little bit of popularity, but hopefully it'll pick back up now that they've added some more rating and stuff like that. But yeah,
So I guess maybe the elitism thing, or kind of what he was talking about, maybe like something that would click more for me would be like how people treat IO scores and shit. Or now there's like a built-in game score. Some of the most toxic, dumbass fucking shit. It's like I could link a motherfucker cutting edge for the current mythic tier, and I would not get invited to like a plus 15 because my IO wasn't high enough. It's like, are you actually fucking stupid? Like, I've literally done harder content than this. Like, what the fuck? I have the end game mount. Like, you haven't even done it on heroic. What? Get me in your group. Like, what the fuck?
really feel like a
So maybe that's kind of what he means, is like the barrier to entry as far as like accolades or like rating and that kind of stuff is like really fucking harsh and like not inviting at all. I agree with that if that's kind of the sentiment that he's going for, and I think Mythic Plus for in my brain like makes more sense, you know, because I've done that more. He's talking about the gatekeeping of it. Yeah, that's been a problem for a long time. I won't disagree with that at fucking all. Yeah, that's been a tough one for a fucking long time. And as he's saying as well, the player pool isn't that big, so the issue is kind of, it's like a vicious kind of circle that it's stuck in now of like, it's probably the way it feels anyway, of like, you know, new players are driven out, so like the player pool in PvP is diluted to the point where like only the diehard want to do it, which increases the restrictions that people have, which makes it even less inviting for fucking new players, and like it just keeps repeating itself, I would imagine. So maybe that's kind of what it's getting at. But we're only 7 minutes in, so I just need to like let him talk.
Mode actually is like the future of
most
WoW.
most
you know,
new players will likely
that.
just get stuck in the casual scene of the game. Like that barrier to break into getting to be like in the competitive scene, and like, and I think what Ven is like, what he was focusing on at the start is a good point, in that like you see someone on Twitch or whatever, and like they inspire you. Name a car for an edit: Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR. There you go. Like, yeah, I kind of people that are 2100 rating want former glad XP to push rating, etc. Same shit with like Mythic Plus wanting higher IO than what you're literally doing. Yeah, that has been a fucking thing forever, dude. It's like back in the day, motherfuckers that would make raids, and then they'd be like, oh, you have to be item level 620, and then you get in the raid and you look at their HP and they have like fucking 30,000 less HP than the next person, and you fucking inspect them and they're like 12 item levels below their own requirement. You're like, dude, whoa, this motherfucker! Like, can you just go do some dungeons, please? Like, you fuck. Come on, man. Just go do something. Like, for experiencing it at the lowest possible difficulty, yes, we need a queuable option for higher difficulties. Otherwise, we get denied based on meta tier list, regardless of gear score and ratings. Yeah, that's always been a thing. And that happens in Final Fantasy as well. When, like, you remember all that fucking drama in Abyssos surrounding, like, tank damage and fucking fizz range damage that people were just fucking blowing their gaskets about? It's like, this is not unique to World of Warcraft either. Like, there were jobs in FF14 that were literally not getting taken into the raid because the meta perception was that they were unviable. And it's like, ooh, that was only for week 1 for 14. Yeah, you say it's only week 1 because FF14 raid tiers only last a couple days. So if it was only 12 bosses, it would only be an issue for a lot longer. So I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying, it's only like that because they released their raids in 1/3. So week 1's the only part hardcore players care about. That's also true. Like, that's what you're in there for. So when you say that it's irrelevant, it's like, meh, I don't think that's true. But I don't know if it supports the point that I'm trying to make. It doesn't really matter, but I kind of lost it. It doesn't really matter.
All
I'm trying to say is that this is this can be an MMO issue, like that specific thing, not the whole, not specific, you know what I mean? Not the whole.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
feel like a solo queue mode actually is like the future of WoW.
Thank you, Weber.
You guys hate
I
me
appreciate
saying
that.
I don't even want to admit it to myself, but unless there's like some better way for people to queue 3s, it's always going to be this thing where it's like you have such an extremely difficult time to play unless you already have friends which lots of people don't, or unless you're already heavily invested in the community, which a lot of people aren't, you know? Like they don't have any. There are people that are even super invested in the community. They can't find.
Solo shuffle means that everyone in the fight is solo, right? Like everyone has to queue solo. Like you can't solo shuffle and then queue into a 3-man team, right? That'd be stupid. Okay.
And anyone to play with. Most of the time, I log on. Nobody wants to play. I have a friends list full of like gladiators and rank ones and stuff. Like 90% of the time, nobody wants to play. So I just sit in LFG or I sit in solo shuffle.
It's know? 3. Yeah. So everyone queues solo. It's like Rumble in.
Whereas when I want to play Overwatch, I just log on, game. I want to play Dota, log on, game. 2 seconds. So
I still think like the comparison to other games is a little bit like misplaced. I don't know if that fits because again, fundamentally they're completely different. I just don't know. Like you ought to compare it to other MMOs, not arena style PvP games that like that's literally all they are. I don't know.
I don't know exactly how we get there.
I get the point he's trying to make, but
it's important, I think, that there is a good solo queue mode, and there's got to be like more convenience. Like I really want more people to play WoW. I do. I love this game.
He wants more people to play PvP in WoW. Not that he doesn't want more people to play in general. I'm not trying to take that away from him, but he specifically wants more people playing PvP. Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you get more people to play PvP in general? What do you do? Design-wise, how do you fix that? I don't know. I don't know. Besides what I was talking about earlier, like tournament realms, I just don't know. Because part of the reason why people do PvP is to get mounts and titles and stuff so that they can have that long-term goal, that investment on their character, something that means something to them. Like the fucking Glad mount from Mop, the white fucking wind serpent thing with or the white serpent dragon with the fucking armor on it. Like, dude. Oh man. Oh baby. Like, let's go. You make every class have 5 spells attacks. That's it. That's what Final Fantasy XIV did essentially with Crystalline Conflict. I don't know. One of the things I don't really like that personally. I like the complexity of WoW in that there's like full on CC and like CC setups, and there's mobility, and there's like, I don't know, there's teleports and all sorts of shit that Final Fantasy XIV doesn't have. So I don't know. I don't know if simplifying it would make it better. I don't know.
I'm not shit talking. Like I'm not shit talking. World of Warcraft is literally that. Like I've dedicated my life to this game in a lot of ways. So I love this game. I want nothing
feeling.
But it's success. But I feel like there's some hurdles that need to be jumped over, and I feel like there's got to be like some changes, like some big changes.
A lot of casual players do BGs, more objective based, making it appealing to less mechanically skilled players, etc. Yeah, I agree. And it gives you the option for like power and numbers kind of thing. Like you're not squared up literally 3-on-3, and it's about you mechanically outplaying all the time. Like sometimes the paladin runs in 30 seconds after everyone else, pops wings, and motherfuckers melt. Like sometimes that just happens in battlegrounds. So I definitely get what you're saying.
You know? And I hate add-ons. It's a different conversation, but I hate add-ons. Yeah,
I can like, even without him like necessarily expanding upon that, I can understand why he hates add-ons. I don't think that they're I understand. Well, I think anyway, my understanding, my perspective is that it is, I think teaching players to do mechanics is much more engaging and fun and better in the long term than add-ons.
I think that the UI needs to be improved and add-ons need to be pruned from the game.
I kind of agree with that take, actually. Like, I'm not anti add-ons as far as like I don't have anything against someone who wants to use add-ons, but I think that the game could be better without them.
And I think if for no other reason,
they have mechanics and raids now that are hidden from weak wars,
accessible to new players, that is good enough for me. But yeah, it's an interesting take. I know a lot of people disagree with me. That's fine. I'm willing to change my mind on what I'm saying as well. Like I'm not.
Oh my God, what a fence sitter. You mean someone can actually like listen to the opinions and perspectives of other people and then change their perspective? God, if only Venruki had a spine and could just stick to what he says, bro.
Totally set in my ideas, but I do feel like I'm on the right track as to
Classic.
why it's like it's hard for people to want to play. You know. Too many
Imagine,
abilities right now too. Legion was the last surge of new players.
imagine
Again,
changing your
Checker and
opinions.
Is the most simplistic in recent times. I really do believe that.
What a jerk.
I'm not gonna lie. This is something we watched yesterday. You guys want to see it?
Flip floppers.
I genuinely believe, with all of my heart and soul, that damage rotations in this game are way too complicated. Like, they are way too complicated. There's too many modifiers. There's too many cooldowns. There's too many abilities. And a perfect example is an Arcane Mage PvE guide. I'm going to show you this, okay?
That's wild to me. Like, to an extent, it's like wild to me. We were just talking about this in the Discord, actually, before I started streaming. We were talking about Arcane Mage. We were talking about simplicity in WoW versus Final Fantasy XIV. I'm going to say it. Rotations in WoW are easier than Final Fantasy XIV. There, I said it. That, like, significantly easier, I think. People aren't going to like that. People aren't going to like that. People aren't going to like that. But you have, like, twice as many buttons, bro. Unless you're a summoner. I don't know. I think rotations in FF are way more difficult than WoW. I don't know, but it depends on the class, right? Like, Arcane has, like, a lot of intricacies that make it complex and annoying to play that I don't know about because it's been a long time since I played Arcane. But, like, just looking at the amount of abilities and knowing at least what some of these do, like, it's not that many. Affliction Warlock is Giga upkeep. Gotta watch the vid. I am watching the vid. We're halfway through it. Like, we're getting there.
This is gonna freaking blow your mind. Okay, we're just gonna watch this for a second. Imagine you're a new player and someone's trying to explain this to you. Okay, you're like, I want to get into raiding. How do I do damage as an Arcane Mage? Let's watch.
And so you show them a log. I mean, again, this I think kind of goes back to the mentality thing, you know, chat. It's all about how you look at it. If someone asks you how to play Arcane Mage and this is what you show them, like, what are you doing? You know, like, what are you doing? I'm confused. I'm confused. They do not need to be looking at this graph. It's not necessary. Watch the rest.
Now let's head
I was just going to end right there. Thanks for convincing me to continue, though.
single target rotation. 15 seconds before the pull, you want to be spamming Arcane Explosion to fish for clear casting procs. This part may vary based on your haste levels, but in general, 9 seconds before the pull starts, you want to cast Evocation so we can start stacking Siphon Storm. At around 3 seconds, you want to cast a Rune of Power into an Arcane Blast precast and Arcane Orb. The pull has now begun, and we already have 4 Arcane charges, so we're ready to start our Arcane Surge burn. However, this burn will change based on if you have double Time Warp activated or not. So if you plan on popping double Time Warp, you want to immediately stack Arcane Harmony to 20, then continue with the burn rotation. If you aren't popping double Time Warp, then you don't have to worry about Arcane Harmony, and can immediately start with Radiant Spark when the pull begins. After Radiant Spark, we cast 3 Arcane Blasts into Arcane Surge and another Tempest. Now, if Time Warp is up, you want to cast Arcane Blast and Spell Q Arcane Barrage into it. If you're not sure what it means to Spell Q, I'll have an explanation of it down in the description. If you're not in Time Warp, then forget about Arcane Blast, just cast Arcane Barrage, and Touch of the Magi while Barrage is traveling, but right before it lands. The reason that we pop Touch of the Magi while Barrage is traveling is so that we gain about an extra second of Touch of the Magi uptime, while still benefiting from Barrage inside it. Also, Touch of the Magi itself gives us 4 Arcane charges, so right after Touch of the Magi, we want to follow a simple priority list. Nether Precision buff to Arcane Blasts, Clear Casted Arcane Missiles, and regular Arcane Blasts. Now, due to Arcane Bombardment, if your target is under 35% health, you want to Barrage and have it land just before Touch of the Magi ends. Otherwise, use Presence of Mind to fit one last Arcane Blast into Touch. And finally, if you're in Double Bloodlust, you want to cast a Barrage on the last global of your Arcane Surge buff. Otherwise, just follow the priority list as usual, and once your Arcane Surge buff wears off, cast Shifting Power, and that's the end of the Arcane Surge burn. Now, I know this may be a lot to take in all at once, especially since the rotation changes so much based on if Lust is active or if the target's in Execute. My best advice would be, take it one step at a time, first learn the rotation without Lust or Execute, and then gradually start incorporating the other conditionals. To help you out with this, I created a cheat sheet that you can find in the description of this video, and it'll have everything you need to know about the rotation, so you can have that pulled up on the side while practicing.
Bro, like, come on, man. Like, come on, bro.
I mean, do you guys want me to play a video of a Black Mage double transpose opener? Like, if that's what you want, like, we can go there. Yeah, please. Okay. All right. Let's get Exu on here. So here's your opener. Depending on how you open the fight, if you're starting with Fire 3. And this is assuming that you're doing a fire opener. And that you're not doing thank that you're not doing any frost stuff. So we'll play it too.
But since it uses both triple cast charges, the most basic general use one that you should know for this expansion is the Fire 3-star opener. I have it here pictured on the screen. There are two variations listed. The first one is slightly stronger in terms of damage output, since it uses both triple cast charges to get your spells off quicker. However, the second one is safer to use when doing a fight for the first time, or when there is a mechanic in the first minute of the fight that having the second triple cast charge would be good for. Why do we start with Fire 3 in the opener, you may ask? Shouldn't we start with Blizzard 3 and do a Blizzard 4 so we can get Paradox in the beginning of our opener? Well, sure, you could do that, but with the way openers work, you are effectively backloading a lot of your damage output, so if you do a Blizzard 3-star opener, you're contributing less raid DPS than if you were doing a Fire 3-star opener. That doesn't mean a Blizzard 3-star opener is bad, just that a Fire 3-star opener will be better in most situations. So here's the basic opener. You'll want to use Shark Cast before the pull starts. If you get a 20-second countdown, which is the most common countdown number I've seen, you can pop Shark Cast anywhere between 20 and 12 seconds left on the timer. You do have quite a bit of leeway, but I recommend doing it whenever you see the countdown start. We start with Fire 3, pre-cast at -3 seconds. This means that it will hit the boss at 0 seconds on the timer. Immediately you start casting Thunder, so you will start getting your damage over time effect on the boss. Since we have no inherent places to weave in the opener, you need to clip triple cast right after the Thunder. While this clip is technically reducing the effectiveness of the triple cast, you do need to do this in order to get a lot of your spells off in time. This also provides weaving windows for you to use your off-global cooldown abilities, like Amplifier, Ley Lines, Swift Cast, your second triple cast charge, your intelligence.
It's like, if this is the way that you want, like, if this is how you think a brand new player needs to be learning, then I guess, yeah, you know, like that. This is one way you can do it. Like, I wouldn't say it's worse. I'd say it's actually about the same as what we just, similar to what we just watched for Arcane Mage here. I'd say it's similar.
Also, touch of the
I think the GCD, it plays a big part. Yeah. I think the GCD. Oh, so you're saying that because the GCD and FF is longer that it's easier? Is that what you're saying? FF14 having a slower GCD makes it simpler. Yes. Disagree. I don't agree with that either.
Bro, like, come on, man. Like, come on, bro.
Dude, Dragoon is... Yeah, Dragoon is so fucking... Oh my god, Dragoon's OGCDs. It's why I don't play Dragoon, honestly. It's why I'm waiting... till Dawn Trail to, like, fuck with Dragoon again, because I can't stand it.
Man. Like, it's too much. I get it. People, you want the rotations.
I kind of love it
enough where you're not
it's like
just
crazy
spamming,
but it's just
totally understand that. And maybe you don't even want the rotation as simple as like Wrath of the Lich King, where like you're spamming Arcane Blast, you have charges, you buff up, like your abilities are getting buffed by your charges. And
look, I'm not saying that I would not say that I prefer the slower GCD style of FF. I don't. I prefer the faster style, the more responsive style of it got delayed another hour. Wow. The responsive kind of style of WoW. I do enjoy it. I'm not trying to say that Final Fantasy is better or worse. I just think that just because the GCD in WoW is faster, I don't think that means that it's inherently harder because of things like a lot of OGCDs in FF. But it doesn't really matter because this is not a fucking dick measuring contest at the end of the day. It just is surprising, I guess, to hear from Ven that he would want more simple stuff. It's just hard because, once again, Ven has the 1% mindset where, like, most players are not going to, and I guess it's the level of content that he's suggesting that people are wanting to get into that is kind of the qualifier for the discussion. So, like, you kind of have to assume those things, right? So it's not, I don't really have like a point.
And then you use your barrage to dump your charges and reset. And if you happen to get a proc, you use that. Like, I feel like there's enough complexity there, or it's still fun. But like Legion was a good example too of like the rotations weren't too ridiculous. But now it's like, it's crazy, bro.
Is that true, chat? I played a lot of Legion, okay, and I thought Legion was great. Is everything more complex now, or is this like an Arcane Mage issue? Is like everything significantly more complex now? I don't know, because I play an Evoker. Enhancement Shaman's hard as fuck. Enhancement Shaman was hard as fuck in Mists of Pandaria as well. That's not new. He's taking the hardest spec and trying to generalize every other spec under its umbrella. Well, I'm just trying to be careful that that's not more complex for rotation for most specs. It's case by case. Remember in regards to PvP where you're not only keeping track of stuff but also everyone else's? Oh, I know that. Yeah, because you gotta like know when their fucking trinkets are gonna be back up, when their racials are gonna be back up. You gotta know when their fucking shit's coming off cooldown. Yeah. Enhancement's hard as fuck, but Fury is easy as fuck. Right, and in Final Fantasy, White Mage is easy as fuck, and some people would say Astro is hard as fuck. I don't know. I don't play Astro, but like that's what I don't know. That's one thing I've heard. I think you could say the same. Summoner is easy as fuck. Black Mage is hard as fuck. It's like, so it's like it sounds to me as though it's like kind of being generalized that like everything is too complex, when it seems like the most complex example is being given.
It's crazy. So,
But again, hyperbole is good for making points. Sometimes I should fucking know. I'm the most exaggerative fucking person you've ever seen.
Anyways, that's what I think. I think
Yeah, it is hard, Thunder, because it is just so, it's just completely subjective. It's just opinions. And this is why it's like tough, right? Because like he has really valid points, and many of which I agree with. But I'm also thinking in my head, like as soon as you make things more simple, people are going to complain. It happens every fucking single time. Every single time it happens.
There's like some challenges that.
Oh, easy mode, making the game for babies now? Baby game to go with my baby lore? Like, come on.
It's World of Warcraft, and like I said, I love this game, but
Like, bro, if that were true, how come you sucked dick back in Classic and TBC when you only had 6 abilities anyways?
for some things are a bit convoluted. Yeah, 100%. Legion had so much choice just because everything.
All right, it's because you were like 13 years old. Okay, fair enough. All right, I take it back. All right, you were literally a child.
Like half your buttons don't.
I was 5, exactly.
For some things
It is a lose-lose situation.
A little bit, yeah. I'm not even joking. You need like a 4-year college degree to be able to DPS as Arcane. You need literally like a 4-year college degree to DPS as an Arcane Mage in PvE.
Yeah, well, I hate to say it, but a 4-year college degree might only get you an Arcane Mage raid spot, so it might not get you much else in our current climate.
It's
Sorry,
way
that's such a
too
fucking...
crazy.
That's such a fucking...
Shadow Priest is just as complicated, but these two specs are exceptions. I mean, I was looking at let me see if I can find it. I made a list of Frost Mage abilities. These are just attacks. This is look at this.
That's right, an
okay?
Arcane Thesis.
This is
Lol, but
Frost
true.
Mage after the rework. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys this.
Warlock was the most
As a
complex of
Frost
vanilla.
Mage
Dot
after
spells,
the
wand,
rework,
pet, and
these are
CC.
your attack buttons.
Nevin Daz, listen. Shut up. Shh. Shh.
These are all things you need to have
Shh.
keybind to do damage. You need to have Frostbolt.
They don't need to know that. They don't need to know that.
Ice Lance.
I liked when I could just turn on Fire and Brimstone and just do AoE Chaos Bolts, okay? Simpler times, okay? They were. And it was great, okay? I admit it. It was great.
Flurry.
It was
Frozen
awesome.
Orb. Blizzard. Cone of Cold. Frost Nova. Fire Blast. Arcane Explosion. Blast Wave. Ray of Frost. Glacial. Ice Nova. Comet
Dude,
Storm.
Mop Lock was
Ebonbolt actually got
fucking-
pruned. They literally pruned it. So Ebonbolt did get pruned. But then you, for your water elemental,
I'm gonna say it, Quinn. Mists of Pandaria Warlock is the best any class has ever felt in the history of World of Warcraft ever. There, I said it.
alone, you need Water Jet Keybind, you need Pet Attack Keybind, you
was
need Pet Freeze
pinnacle.
Keybind, and then if you happen to PvP, you also
Pinnacle.
need to use Ring of Fire, and you also need to use Frostbite.
Power Fantasy, Class Fantasy was there. Ooh, Talent, Variation was sometimes there. Sometimes Shadowburn was baseline. Shadowburn was baseline and sick. And it refunded Embers, and you had Burning Embers. Remember when we had Burning Embers?
These are just attacks. It's a lot. Now, I've heard people of the opinion that there are people that have the opinion that it's better to have more attacks, which means more options, which means higher skill cap. Like, I've had that conversation with people, but it's a bit much. I think compared to like, this is Legion.
Using Burning
Legion,
Embers to
you
Ember
had
Tap.
Spammable Arcane Blast, Explosion, and
Glyph of Ember Tap, so it healed you for 20% more, but it did it over time. Fighting Canrathad for the first time. Green Fire questline, dude. Yeah, Mist was my classic, but it's also, in my opinion, which is hilarious, objectively better. Keck W, because that doesn't work, obviously. But in my opinion, Mop, I'm just going to say it on the rail, dude. Mop's the most underrated expansion. There, I said it. It's one of the best ones, and it's so underrated. You know why? Because memeing idiots couldn't get past fucking Panda Bears to realize that it was one of the sickest MMO experiences with some of the best content reward loops, some of the best rating, some of the best side content ever put in the game.
Barrage.
And the fucking twits didn't realize that over 15 years ago, before they got a boner for their precious Arthas, that pandas were already part of the fucking universe, bro. What?
When you got procs, you used missiles. You had Arcane Orb as a short CD. You had Mark of Alaneth and Arcane Power and Palm as your long CDs. You had 4 defensives, Temp Shield, Priz Cloak, Ice Block, Greater Invis. Your utilities were Mass Invis, Shimmer Displacement, Nova, Slow, Spell Steal.
I saw spells.
And it was the most fun spec ever. This is literally one of the most fun specs I've ever played in my entire life. League of Legends has like, well, that's what Zico says. Like,
Well, they
it's like, why is
things,
League of Legends so fun to play? Like, why are MOBAs so fun to play? You have 4, 5, 6 buttons.
True.
Maybe and then you add like Flash or whatever. You have like 7 buttons. But
yeah, but then doesn't that just make it like every other fucking game though? Doesn't that just make it like MOBAs? Like, what if people don't? What if you? Like, what about all the people? Ah, fuck, dude. What about all the people that don't enjoy League or any of that stuff? It's like, they're just. I can't get past this comparison to other game styles. It's a struggle for me.
Every button does something meaningful.
Yeah, just play a first-person shooter. You could just have left click. That's why Zico enjoys classic, few buttons. I get that. It's part of why I won't play Astrologian in Final Fantasy, because it has too many goddamn buttons.
Every button you press feels like it actually matters. Yeah, but there's been plenty of times, Axton, where, you know, those little buttons... Oh, listen, I understand, man. Like,
maybe they just need to do... I don't know, man. Maybe... I don't know. He probably... I wonder what Venruki would think of Crystalline Conflict. I really wonder. Like, if he could look at a max level, like level 90, like Black Mage bar set and like play it, and then go into like Crystalline Conflict and see how they condense things and like how they simplify. I wonder what his opinion on that would be. I bet you he would like it a lot. I bet you, I mean, that sounds kind of like exactly what he wants. I mean...
yeah, I get it. World of Warcraft is never going to be a game that has 5 buttons, but I feel like you could have like 20. You know, you could have like 20 buttons, and that's fine. 20 is kind of a lot for casual gamers. Yeah, even 20 is fucking crazy.
20 is a lot of fucking abilities. Yeah, 20 is a lot. And I also have to say, when I went to Final Fantasy and I realized how many buttons there were on my bars, I did not initially like it. It took me a long time to get used to having 4 fucking bars. I have 48 buttons on most of my jobs in Final Fantasy, and they're all full. It's kind of insane. So it's like, I get it. It was very overwhelming, and like, yeah, I get where he's coming from in that regard. It's a lot.
And 40. The ability prune after WoD pretty disliked. Well, it's because they pruned like iconic, really fun abilities like grounding.
Same, and I'm a clicker. Oh God.
It's not like, yeah. They pruned like really crazy important abilities. The biggest reason I can't play retail right now is the complex damage rotations.
How long did it take you to get over that? Well, considering it took me like a year and a half to play through all of the main story quest line, I got used to it over a very long period of time.
Rotations are not what makes combat fun for me.
But then I got to max level and I started boosting other jobs. So then I had a bunch of jobs at level 80 that I didn't level at all, so I did not know how to play them. And learning a job with 30 buttons from the ground up is like kind of overwhelming, but I think the more I did it, the more that I was able to notice similarities between jobs in Final Fantasy XIV. And that was part of what made it easier, was that I could actually find similar, like, here's my single target button, here's my AoE version of that ability, and this other job also essentially has that, so I'm just going to put them on the same keybind. That way when I switch between jobs, it's the same bind. And I do the same thing in World of Warcraft as well. But I think Final Fantasy has a fair bit of that, which is homogenization between jobs is what that is, frankly. Which, you know, I think there's still enough difference that it's fine, but that helped.
What makes combat fun for a lot of people, man. Like, it should not be, I'm telling you, even if you want to have like a bunch of like utility spells that are interesting, I'm down for that. But I swear the way you deal damage in this game is way too complicated. I really believe that. I think most specs, their damage rotation is way too convoluted.
You know, you know, even at a base level, he's probably right. Because I think about Black Mage on a base level, okay? The most basic. You sharp cast, you fire 3, you thunder, you fucking fire 4, fire 4, fire 4, fire 4, fire 4. Mana font, fire 4, fire 4. Like, you kind of do spam. Like, when you're unloading as Black Mage, you're fucking unloading. Like, sure, you're pressing like triple cast here and like swift cast here and like polyglot here, but like you're fucking spamming fire 4. Like, so, you know, like
Looted. There's way too many buttons.
Even for one of the more complex classes, there is simplicity that exists there as well, if that makes sense. I'm so happy having you back on WoW Train. Your theories got me excited back then due to how well they were built, and it reminded me as to how we used to argue back in college about history and shit. Your lore content is gold. That's why many people started jumping on that. Thank you very much, casual viewer XQT. I appreciate that. Thanks for saying that. I'm happy to be back, and it's not like I'm gonna throw all my World of Warcraft stuff up in the background, you know, tomorrow, or maybe even ever. But yeah, I'm happy to be back. If this fucking game if the servers could go live, you know, that would be great, so we could play the game.
That don't really do that much, but you're still forced to press. The complexity of the game is what is killing its popularity. Making it easier to play would pull in more people, but it would make it less appealing for people that can play for hours on end every day. I don't think that's true, though.
WC predictions for the week.
I don't think that's true. In BFA, they tried to make it easier to play, and it had the opposite effect. I feel like Legion was pretty, I feel like Legion had pretty clean rotations.
Too much work, bro. It's too much work.
I kind of agree with Knight. Like,
Legion had sick roads.
I feel like all the
Sick
specs that I
roads,
played
dude.
in Legion were like they were good. How do we get more people to play baseball?
That's funny though, because Legion also had artifact weapons, which added abilities to classes. At least one ability, typically. So that's, I don't know.
Let's make everyone use T-bars. We actually had, this is kind of like a repeat of a conversation we were having earlier. But I think the biggest problem is it just takes a really long time to get into WoW. Like, the major challenges WoW has is like, if somebody watches WoW and then wants to play it, going from watching it to playing what you're seeing is months of work, months and months and months and months and months of work. And then also, even if you do all the work, like, another challenge with WoW, and like I keep feeling like I need to say this because, like I said, I love this game, dedicated my life to this game, favorite game I've ever played in my whole life. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way. Even if you do everything, so here's another problem with WoW is even if you do everything, let's say you actually buy the game, you level up your character, you farm full honor gear and full conquest gear, you download all the add-ons you need, you set up all the add-ons you need, everything is great. You farmed everything. You spent, weeks and weeks and weeks, months and months and months. You finally got add-ons you need. You set up all the add-ons you need.
So, is he on PTR in this? Or is this live? What he's doing? This is on the live game? He was in queue for 34 minutes. For an arena.
Everything is great. You farmed.
Imagine giving a flying fuck about PvP in a moment. Most unbalanced shit you can play. It is some of the most unbalanced shit. That's true. I mean, yeah,
you
that's true.
Weeks and weeks and weeks, months and months and months. You finally.
I think there's a
got
lot
everything.
of nostalgia with Legion.
Most of the time, you're just gonna log in and not have anyone to play
so
threes
too.
with, so you can't play. Or if you're gonna solo shuffle, it takes 30 minutes in queue.
Yeah, that's
the
brutal.
biggest obstacle. Like
30 minutes. That was wild. I didn't realize he was gonna sit in queue for that long.